All right, let's jump right into this explainer and transform the idea of earnings quality from a vague corporate buzzword into a concrete, testable concept that you can absolutely nail on your CMA Part 2 exam. You know, when you're deep in the trenches prepping for this exam, it is so incredibly easy to get completely lost in the weeds of formulas and endless calculations. But behind all those activity ratios and profitability metrics, there's a massive foundational question we have to ask. Can we actually trust the numbers we are looking at? Well, that is exactly what we're going to figure out today.
So, here is our quick roadmap for the next few minutes. We are going to cover 1. Defining earnings quality. 2. The role of consistency. 3. The impact of accounting choices. 4. High income versus high quality. And finally, 5. Better analysis and forecasting.
Starting right off with Section 1, Defining Earnings Quality.
Okay, the absolute crucial takeaway here is that earnings quality is entirely about usefulness. It literally measures how well the reported earnings indicate the company's actual real-world performance. A lot of folks out there think earnings quality just means, hey, did the company make a ton of money? It doesn't. It's really about whether the net income number sitting on that income statement is a reliable, trustworthy indicator of how the business is fundamentally doing. Because look, if the earnings have a huge degree of variability, or if they're heavily manipulated by aggressive estimates, then all those fancy ratios you build on top of them, they become a lot less meaningful.
Which brings us to Section 2, the role of consistency. The source material is super direct about this, explicitly stating that consistency isn't just a nice-to-have bonus feature, it is a fundamental aspect of quality itself. When you are analyzing financial statements, you really want to see a predictable, stable pattern. A company that generates steady, reliable earnings year after year, that company has higher earnings quality. Why? Because you can actually use those historical numbers to get a solid read on where the company is headed in the future. And this perfectly illustrates exactly why consistency matters so much. If a company's earnings are bouncing all over the place from year to year, a single year's income statement becomes practically useless for making any long-term predictions. Imagine looking at a business that makes $10 million one year, loses $5 million the next, and then makes $2 million the year after that. If you only zoom in on that first year, you might think, wow, absolute goldmine. But that wild variance means that single snapshot tells you absolutely nothing about the firm's actual long-term health or operational efficiency.
Moving right along to Section 3, Impact of Accounting Choices.
So let's look at a concrete example. Using declining balance depreciation actually creates higher quality earnings than straight-line depreciation. Why? Because it conservatively writes down assets earlier, which better reflects economic reality. Think about it. Most assets, like heavy machinery or a fleet of delivery vehicles, lose a huge chunk of their value and efficiency really early in their useful life. Straight-line depreciation totally ignores this and just spreads the cost evenly. But declining balance takes the hit up front. It's a much more conservative accounting choice, and therefore, the earnings number it produces is considered to be of a higher quality because it is way closer to the actual economic truth. We see a really similar dynamic with inventory. During a period of inflation, LIFO provides a higher earnings quality than FIFO because it matches current inflated costs to current revenues. Under LIFO, last in, first out, the most recent and therefore most expensive inventory costs are the ones expensed on the income statement as cost of goods sold. That means your gross profit reflects today's actual economic reality. FIFO, on the other hand, matches older, cheaper inventory costs against today's higher sales prices. And what does that do? It artificially inflates your profit margins. So, during inflation, LIFO gives you a much higher quality, far more useful earnings figure.
Now let's tackle Section 4, High Income versus High Quality.
This is such a massive trap for students and investors alike. It is incredibly tempting to just assume that higher profit automatically means a better, stronger company. If you're comparing two identical companies side by side and Company A reports a significantly higher net income than Company B, your gut reaction is to just declare Company A the winner. But as we've just seen with those depreciation and inventory methods, that higher income might just be a mirage entirely created by aggressive accounting policies.
The reality is actually quite the opposite. More conservative methods, like using LIFO during inflation, might lower the reported income on paper, but they create a far more honest and useful number in practice. A company using declining balance depreciation and LIFO is intentionally choosing to take larger expenses right now. Yes, this shrinks their bottom line today, but as an analyst or as a candidate sitting for that CMA exam, you have to recognize that this lower net income is actually of much higher quality. It's grounded in reality and leaves way less room for nasty negative surprises down the road.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Better Analysis and Forecasting.
High earnings quality is what finally allows us to determine a firm's earnings power. And earnings power is simply its true capacity to generate actual cash inflows. Because let's be real, accounting profit is great for a spreadsheet, but cash is what actually keeps the lights on. Economic profit and accounting profit aren't always the same thing. Focusing on earnings power strips away all the accounting noise and looks at whether the core operations of the business can predictably and reliably generate cold, hard cash.
And when those earnings are high quality and predictably stable, they become the absolute optimal source of funds for covering fixed charges, servicing long-term debt, and paying out future dividends. Think about a bank deciding whether to issue a massive commercial loan, or an investor hoping for steady quarterly dividend checks. They do not want a company whose earnings spike and crash wildly. They want stability. They want to see that high-quality, predictably stable pattern that proves the company has the true earnings power to meet its long-term obligations without breaking a sweat.
But as you do your forecasting, you've got to remember that outside factors, like inflation, can seriously distort financial realities. Inflation can decrease the real value of outstanding long-term debt or make historical costs totally obsolete. This is exactly why you can't just blindly punch numbers into a calculator and accept the output as gospel. A lot of assets on the balance sheet are recorded at historical cost, meaning their true fair value isn't even reflected there. And the interest rate increases that usually accompany inflation, they can completely alter the real burden of long-term debt. High-quality analysis means actively recognizing these external distortions and adjusting your perspective accordingly.
So as you wrap up your exam prep with this explainer, I want you to continually ask yourself, are the numbers you are looking at reflecting true economic reality, or are they just an accounting illusion? Remember, your ultimate goal isn't just to calculate a formula perfectly, it's to deeply understand what that ratio is actually telling you about the firm's true underlying performance. Look for that consistency. Look for those conservative accounting choices. Because when it comes down to real financial analysis, the quality of the earnings is absolutely just as important, if not way more important, than the quantity. Keep that mindset, and you're going to crush it.